Hi, my name is Lizzy Polanco. I am a makeup artist in the entertainment industry with about 12 plus years under my belt, and I'm here to tell my story.
Thank you for taking the time to sit down with me today and have this conversation and to tell your story. Can I start by asking you, what do you think people's first impression of you is?
That's a really great question. Um, I think a lot of people's first impression about me is that I'm reserved, I'm shy, I can be intimidating, my style can be kind of bold and loud. And that's actually some of the feedback that I've gotten, especially from colleagues that I work with. They're like, oh my God, you're such a goofball. But when I first met you, I was, under the impression that you were very serious and, you're very observant and you didn't want to talk. And I'm like, that's just me. I like to kind of scope out the environment, the energy first. And then once I feel comfortable, then, I'm a whole different person. But that's definitely, I feel, the impression that most people first think of me until they actually get to know
So,
me.
how did you become a makeup artist in LA?
That's always a question that I get because, as you know, in LA, it's mainly transplants. So I'm, kind of like that weird person where I'm a native, I'm actually born and raised in the San Fernando Valley. And so people, they're like, wow, like you must have family in the industry. And I'm like, no, I don't. I've always been into makeup, and I know it stems from growing up watching my mom transform herself. Whenever she would have friends over, we would go to parties, and I was just always fascinated by how you can, enhance your face and your features and just look very glamorous. And I never really knew that you could become a makeup artist and get paid for it until probably when I was like 15 years old. This was like in the early 2000s. There was this infomercial that would run at night. And I remember it was called the Alexis Vogel system. And I remember I was just so fascinated by this infomercial and seeing her before and afters. And I'm like, wow, that's what I want to do. Because I remember growing up when I would go get my haircut, or would be in the salon waiting for my mom to get her hair finished. I would scroll through like the booklets. I don't know if you remember, like back then, like they would always have like these uh books that you can choose your haircut or hairstyle from, and it was always like a before and after kind of glamour shot. And I just always loved that. So when I saw this infomercial and I saw that this makeup artist had celebrities on there that I was fascinated with, and I would see like the glam transformation, I was like, wow, like I want to do that. And so at the time there was, no YouTube, nothing like that was readily available. I had to go to the bookstore or to the library, and I would get books on how to learn how to do makeup. And I actually was self-taught in the beginning. And then I decided to go to makeup school to learn proper sanitation techniques and just everything else that I couldn't find in my research in books, and actually get to practice on different people, different face shapes, different ages, different skin tones. And I became really well acquainted with the makeup instructor who's now one of my really, really good friends and my makeup mentor. And everything just kind of started trickling after that. But it's been this year, 12 years, I can't believe, doing this. It's been a long journey, but I'm very, happy and content and fulfilled.
Congratulations. So cool. And I definitely can relate to the books. My mom was a hairdresser growing up.
Oh,
And so
awesome.
I was always in the salon and I was always in the books and I
Yes,
was
do you
always
know
looking.
what I'm talking about?
Yes,
Yeah.
100%. 100%. That brought back a nice fun memory. My brain went to like all the different salons she worked in and all the different
Yes.
places I would sit and look through all the books. I love that you found something that you were really interested in and then were able to see a path to continuing how to perfect it versus just seeing something, trying it, expecting it to work, right? You really put in the work and you really were passionate about it for yourself and wanted to share it with others. And I love that. I absolutely love that.
Yeah.
Were there
You
any
definitely
obstacles
captured
that,
it.
say that again?
I'm like, you definitely captured it.
Were there any obstacles in your way in your journey?
There were, and I feel that's something that's not often talked about. And I liked, I'm an open book, especially when it comes to newer makeup artists that are starting out in this business. And I definitely feel I'm at the point where, yeah, I do have years of experience at this point, but I always tell them don't get comfortable, especially in makeup, where trends are always changing. Or if, depending on the job, if it's like a period piece, or maybe like you have a client that wants specific style of makeup, like let's say like a 1950s makeup or 1970s makeup, don't always assume that you're going to stop learning. Like it's always, education, stay on top of things. And as far as the setbacks or roadblocks that I've experienced, I can definitely say that just because I was, born here in, Southern California and grew up here, I definitely feel it was much harder for me to break into the production side of the industry, because when I started doing makeup, I started doing, bridal and special events, red carpet, and I thought that's what I wanted to do. And then I got kind of tired of the glam, and I wanted to do production work because I always envisioned myself being on set. And I remember always trying to put my foot in the door, but the door would never really close, would never really open, I should say, until, my mentor, who's my really good friend, she gave me the opportunity of a lifetime to come and assist her on a set. It was, an indie movie, but it was a crash course. And everything I learned in makeup school is probably like, I only used 2% of that, and everything else was like, I got thrown to the wolves. And it was, I want to say, probably the best way to kind of really learn if doing makeup in the production world is for you, because I feel a lot of people have this misconception that it's very glamorous, but it's not. It's very early call times, very long hours, and it's kind of like go 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 go, and there's not a lot of work life balance. And so I feel that as I started getting my foot in the door and I got a taste of it, it was a little bit hard to kind of keep that momentum going. But then as friends of mine also started working in production and started elevating themselves within the field, they brought me along with them. And I feel like if it wasn't for them, I don't know that I would be in this side of the industry, because it is very hard to break into. So it's definitely, as the saying goes, it's not about what you know, it's who knows you.
It's true with, like, I think every industry these days, film, entertainment, or otherwise, um, just because there is such fierce competition. And I took something that you said throughout your story there, and it was just something you said in the beginning. You said you're an open book and very open to new people trying to start their careers doing what you're doing. And I think there's a lot to be said for that. And I'd love your opinion on this, because I feel like a lot of times when we're doing something, especially something so specialized as what you're doing, we feel like we have to own it. Like we have to keep it, and I can't let you in. I can't give you my secrets. It's mine, 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 because every job must be mine. I can't, you know what I mean? So I can't share with you what I know because you'll take my spot. Do, I felt that when you said you were so open, what a gift and how generous of you. Yeah, no, that's how I took that. So I'd love your opinion and what you think about that type of concept, and do people think that way? Have you experienced that?
Yeah, I want to say, because as I was telling you, like, if it wasn't for people giving me opportunities, I wouldn't have broken into the production world. But with that being said, I wasn't the people that I guess maybe I expected to help me out along the way would close that door for me, because it, like you said, it's like I want to own it. And I can kind of see it from that perspective, in terms of like they also put in a lot of hard work, blood, sweat, and tears to get there. And they are guarded about it. But for me, I think it's a testament also to me being, compassionate and an empath. And I always feel like it doesn't hurt to give somebody the opportunity, as long as I set boundaries and let them know, hey, this is kind of how it goes. It's also kind of looked down upon when you essentially kind of steal somebody else's clients. You end up getting blacklisted, and just know that I can't control if that happens, but just know maybe people won't be calling you. So at the same time, I try to be fair and generous, because I do see the hunger in people's eyes. And it reminds me of a lot of how when I started out and wanted those opportunities so very badly and got them. But I also let them know, like, hey, always be professional, because even though people here are maybe not engaging with you as much, because everybody's so busy doing their own job, but people watch. And so for me, I can definitely say the people who I've brought along are extremely grateful and generous, and they also kind of have done the same thing as me. They given other opportunities to other people, and I think that definitely says a lot about the people that, at least on my end, I like to surround myself with, because I know how dog eat dog the world is. So
Well,
I
and it
hope that
sounds like
answers your
you
question.
have that openness, but you're setting the expectation, but you're giving them the real piece. It's like, yeah, there's this that you can learn and educate yourself on. And then here's the real world part of this where if then, right? So
Yeah,
I think that's a very realistic way to go about it, because then you'll know. I think when you're honest and open with people, people feel that they should probably reciprocate. And if they're not, they're going to know there's consequences.
absolutely. I definitely agree with you on that.
So, Lizzy, what is something that would surprise people to know about you?
I'm very good with reading energies through no fault of my own. It's just something I guess I was kind of born with or passed down in my bloodline. And as you can imagine, being on set with like a crew of people, that can get very intense. But I definitely want to say it's kind of like a good gift to have, because I'll know, like, okay, who to kind of like keep it very professional with, who I can kind of open up myself to a little more, and whether I want to continue working with certain people or not, because, not all money is good money. So if the energy there is not good and it's draining me or making me feel bad, like, I know how to block it. So I would definitely say that's something surprising, as well as um, when I open up to people about this side of me, they're usually pretty shocked, because, like I said, they look at me, they see this colorful hair, they see these tattoos. I usually am in a band tee or jeans, and they wouldn't expect me to be that way. They would think I'm probably like this, like don't talk to me type of person. And then I start talking about, the spiritual realm and whatnot. And they're like, what? Or like, how did you know that? I just met you. And I'm like, I don't know, just take it how you will.
What you said about not all money is good money. The
Mhm.
thing there that sticks out for me is we have to always be doing things that serve us. And then oftentimes we leave us behind when trying to, um, service others, right?
Correct. You're extremely 100% correct on that.
So I like that you're looking out for you too. My New Year's resolution this year was a lot of boundary setting and kind of putting me first, the self-care thing. And that's exactly it. Is if it's not serving me and the energy is not positive for me, and if I'm not liking who I am in that moment, this isn't the right place.
Correct. And I definitely agree with you on that, because I feel, as you know, 2020 was a very difficult year for a lot of people. It's like the rug got pulled right from under us. And in the end, we really only have today and ourselves. So, like you said, if, your New Year's resolution, I feel, is probably a lot of people's outlook on life as well, if not their own resolution as well. Because if, like you said, if it's not worth your time, energy, don't, put yourself out there and get drained. And self-care is very, very important, especially now more than ever, because of the fact that we don't know what tomorrow holds. And I definitely feel boundary setting, as well as you touched on, is super, super important. And I'm very huge on that myself. Like, as soon as somebody disrespects my boundaries, you no longer have access to me, because then if I allowed that, it's like I'm letting you, I'm kind of like telling you, like, oh, it's okay. It's
Right.
okay. And boundaries are also a form of self-care. I feel like some people, um get taken aback when you put a boundary or you let them know what their boundary is, but it's just because they've never really been held accountable.
Yep. And I think sometimes people are so afraid to say no and set those boundaries because they're more afraid of someone's response than they are of filling their own wholeness.
Correct.
Yep. So definitely you and I in line with so many things. So I love that.
Self-love is always going to be the best love.
Well, and I'm a big believer of the fact that you have to love you in order for others to love you. And
Yeah.
so it has to, it's a complete circle when it all comes together. Um, so you said in your introduction that you were here to tell your story. What have we missed as part of this conversation? We covered that you're from Los Angeles originally. We covered what you do now, the industry you're in, how you got there, and we covered your love of energy and a different side of you. What else is there to Lizzy that we should know?
What I do for a living is very strange from my family. I'm also first generation American. My parents immigrated here in the early 80s. I believe this year is going to be their 40th year in the United States. And to them, I think they always kind of think this is like a hobby type of thing because I'm the only one out of all my relatives that has this sort of job. Everybody else, went a more traditional path and that's their path. Um, but everybody's there like, oh, so are you going to do makeup forever? Are you going back to school? And I'm like, this is my job. This is what I do for a living. But I can also um, see how I feel like anybody that's usually in a creative field and maybe not so much so in a traditional kind of career path, it's always like this running joke I feel when you're first generation, uh, that people are always thinking that the arts or music is not necessarily a career. It's just something you're doing for fun. And eventually you're going to settle down, go back to school and get that college degree. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I always just kind of feel like, of course, I had to be the black sheep in the family, but people in my family are also very fascinated because they're like, oh, what did you work on? And how many people did you do makeup on and this and that? And that's kind of when I realized like, oh yeah, my line of work is not very traditional.
But it's got to be so fun to always have that movement and to always have something different. So it's a unique experience.
But I think that's the excitement and that's what I like about this is that I'm never really in the same place at the same time. And I've worked on shows where I guess that would be the closest to having, coworkers and being in the same office space type of thing. But then that to me kind of gets boring after a while. I like the chase and the thrill because it reminds me of how when I started, And so I just don't ever want that to get old because I feel like when it does, or if it gets comfortable, maybe it's time for me to, stop doing what I'm doing.
So, what was your favorite project that you've worked on so far?
My favorite project that I worked on so far, and keep in mind, I'm actually that hybrid makeup artist that although production work is the main bulk of my work, I still like to take on clientele and I still work with makeup brands because a lot of people don't realize that set work can be pretty lonely and your own, especially now with COVID, your own real way of like, having any social interaction with anybody is whomever is in your makeup chair. Um, so with that being said, my favorite job that sticks out to this day is actually volunteering to do makeup on cancer patients.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, to me, like I said, even though my job is to make people look enhanced for camera, I still am very connected to people. And so when I can when I can see somebody just really smile and be very happy about, drawing on eyebrows and making them look hair-like after they've lost their hair to chemo and just see how grateful they are, I think that's really what makes me really, really be grateful for what I do.
That is beautiful. You have so many beautiful qualities, and they come through when you speak about everything that you're passionate about. I mean, everything from your home life growing up in LA, your journey through the kids' eyes at the makeup, your family, your job, and now this. It's a lot and it's awesome. It's very, very just like I said, it's your passion comes through and your heart shines.
Thank you. And don't get me wrong, I feel like, yeah, I'm also grateful for, the big celebrities that I've gotten to work with and CEOs and, heads of, really big companies. And that's great and all, but I've always also shied away from posting that because I don't really want to pigeonhole myself into just being known for that. You know, at the end of the day, makeup is my passion. And whether you're a big A-lister or you are somebody that, ran across my website or somebody gave you my information, like I'll take you in, because like I said, I just have such a passion for makeup, and um, as long as that passion's there, I'm gonna keep doing it.
Well, and that's exactly what I was saying. It just comes through and yeah, just because you mentioned the doing makeup for the cancer patients being your favorite, that sticks out to you to this point doesn't mean that you don't appreciate, or acknowledge all the places you've been and all the things that you've done, but it just shows you what means something to you deep in your heart and where you pull all this energy from to give every day. And that's what I'm seeing over here.
Thank you. Yes, I love being of service, so I definitely feel that.
Well, I would love to take this opportunity to ask you the final question that I ask during these conversations. But first, thank you so much again for taking the time. Is there anything else you'd like to share before I ask you that question?
No, I actually want to say thank you for having me on here. I know the conversation is very, organic and it's flowing, but like I said, I'm actually very shy. This is only the second time I've agreed to do something like this, so it's a big deal for me.
Ah, I feel so honored. Like I would never have guessed that. And you're right. The conversation has flowed so wonderfully, and I've really enjoyed getting to know you.
Well, thank you. Likewise.
Absolutely. So as we close out, if you are out in the community or on set or helping in your volunteer life, and you had the opportunity to hold up a sign that says one thing about Lizzy, what do you want people to know?
My sign would say equality. All are welcome, especially if you are a person that is struggling and you want to do better in life. And I say that because, um, in life, we should also have second chances. And I was given a second chance in life. And, I definitely feel a lot of my success and fulfillment where I am is because I also decided to align with mind, body, and soul and leave my party lifestyle behind. And so I'm also really big on, giving people second chances.